Welcome to a special edition of the Broadway.com show, where we take a look back at the year that was. I'm Ryan Lee Gilbert.
And I'm Beth Stevens. This week, we're celebrating the biggest stories and brightest stars of 2017.
We're offering up some FaceTime with our faves and giving you the reasons behind our top picks of the year. But first, here's a look at some of the most talked about stories of the year. What's the 2017 buzz, Beth?
The Divine Miss M's year was simply that, divine. Bette Midler returned to Broadway with bells and Sunday clothes on in the Tony-winning revival of Hello, Dolly. Midler's triumphant return to musical theater was the best homecoming a fabulous diva could ask for. The production, which also stars David Hyde Pierce, Gavin Creel, and Kate Baldwin, became one of the hottest tickets in town, and Midler nabbed a Tony Award for her performance and managed to make the Tony Speech of the Year. To top that off, she certainly knows how to throw a party. The star once again hosted the best Halloween bash ever and celebrated her birthday on December 1st with an amazing present, Hello, Dolly's Grammy nomination for Best Musical Theater Album. As Midler gets ready to depart the show on January 14th, we want to say, Bette, thank you for a hell of a year.
To put it lightly, this year was a big one for Ben Platt, who won the Tony Award, the Drama League's Distinguished Performance Award, and the Broadway.com Audience Choice Award for his performance in Dear Evan Hansen, a show he'd been attached to since early read-throughs in 2014. But well-deserved awards weren't the only things that made this a banner year for the young star. Platt also appeared in NBC's popular revival of Will and Grace, signed a record deal with Atlantic Records, was named People's Sexiest Broadway Performer, made the list of Time Magazine's most influential people in the world, received a Grammy nomination, and, most importantly, turned his dream of meeting Beyoncé into a reality. This year, Ben Platt stepped out into the sun, and everybody waved back at him.
So, meeting Beyoncé was the most important part of Ben Platt's year?
I'm not super close with Ben, but I'm sure if you asked him, he'd say absolutely yes.
One of the most buzzed about stories of the year was a sobering one. With Time Magazine choosing the Silence Breakers as its Person of the Year, we would be remiss if we didn't mention how sexual misconduct affected Broadway. Perhaps the most obvious example was the swift downfall of this year's Tony Awards host, Kevin Spacey. After allegations made by original Rent star Anthony Rapp, Spacey lost his job starring in House of Cards, his agent, and even his performance in the new movie All the Money in the World when he was replaced by Christopher Plummer. Spacey publicly apologized to Rapp, saying he did not remember the encounter and also came out as a gay man. As the Me Too movement about victims of sexual harassment and assault gains momentum, we know that we will never look back at the 2017 Tony Award ceremony with the same eyes we did on that night in June. And to Rapp and others who bravely speak out, we are glad you are at the forefront of a global conversation.
I didn't expect you to go there.
I did. But now I want some good news. Got any?
You bet. The Great White Way got a little bit bigger this year with the reopening of the Hudson Theater, one of Broadway's oldest surviving theaters after almost 50 years. The theater, which was leased by the London-based Ambassador Theatre Group in 2015 and refurbished, reopened with a revival of Sunday in the Park with George, starring Jake Gyllenhaal in a stunning performance, as well as Tony winner Annalise Ashford. Robert Icke and Duncan Macmillan's stage adaptation of George Orwell's 1984, starring Tom Sturridge and Olivia Wilde, was the next show to be housed in the Hudson, but neither production chose to be eligible for Tony Awards consideration. The Parisian Woman, headlined by Uma Thurman, is currently playing at the reopened theater, and the first Broadway revival of Burn This with Adam Driver will move in next. So far, the Hudson is a house of stars.
2017 was also the year of songwriting team Benj Pasek and Justin Paul's meteoric rise. As every Broadway fan knows, the duo took home the Tony for Best Original Score for their Tony-winning smash Dear Evan Hansen. But that's not all. Pasek and Paul won an Oscar for Best Song for penning the lyrics for La La Land's City of Stars, and they already have a Golden Globe nomination for the anthem This Is Me from the new movie musical The Greatest Showman, starring Hugh Jackman. And both City of Stars and the Dear Evan Hansen cast recording are up for Grammys in January. So, if these two are destined to EGOT, where's the Emmy? Well, Pasek and Paul also just brought their musical A Christmas Story to the small screen with Fox's recent live broadcast. That's a lot of accolades for 1 year, and we're sure there will be many more in 2018.
The world of Broadway and beyond was also defined this year by Andy Karl's triumphant performance in Groundhog Day after almost being sidelined by a serious onstage knee injury. Andrew Lloyd Webber once again achieved the rare distinction of having 4 musicals running simultaneously. Divas Patti LuPone and Glenn Close starred on Broadway at the same time in Warpaint and Sunset Boulevard, respectively, and there was #no drama between them. And Beauty and the Beast's LeFou, brought to life by Josh Gad, was the first openly gay character in a Disney movie. Plus, some of our favorite Broadway stars got hitched this year. Best wishes to Idina Menzel, Eva Noblezada, Philippa Sue, Stephen Pasquale, Betsy Wolfe, and more. There's more happy news in 2017 as Sutton Foster, Corey Cott, Patina Miller, Laura Benanti, Megan Hilty, and more became parents. Cheers to all the stars who made Broadway extra bright this year.
When we come back, we reveal the Star of the Year, our picks for the best of 2017, and more.
This week on Broadway.com, catch Lea Salonga on Show People, Beautiful's Cara Lindsay and Ben Jacoby on Never Have I Ever, the final episode of SpongeBob SquarePants star Lily Cooper's vlog Getting Cheeky, and more.
I'm Ethan Slater from SpongeBob SquarePants on Broadway, and you're watching the Broadway.com show.
Welcome back. Rory Medcalf's fierce Tony-winning work as Nora in A Doll's House Part 2 is our #1 pick for the 2017 Performance of the Year. Playwright Lucas Nace's crisp and comic take on an Ibsen classic offered Metcalf the opportunity to dig into her acting sorcery. From comic exasperation to ferocious passion, the actress's fearless performance was a marvel. In interviews Broadway.com conducted this year, Metcalf reveals her take on the role and more.
She could barely talk fast enough to get her ideas out and to show off to the woman who raised her, you know. And you root for people who have those flaws. Yeah, she's a show-off. Yeah, she's a brat sometimes. Yeah, she's impatient with everybody and selfish. But I find those qualities sort of endearing in people who just have these blinders on about what they want to go for and don't, you know, just get out of my way. It's fun to play.
This in-demand actress has a long history on the stage and a great commitment to theatre.
I started out in theater with Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago, and I'm still a member there, and I think we're in our 40-something season. And so that's always been where my heart is and my passion, and I'm so grateful that I've never lost that passion. I love to do theater, whether it's Broadway or a 50-seat theater in LA. You know, it's the same amount of work, it's the same muscles, it's you know, the same precision that goes into it. So I will always keep gravitating back to theater, and then it's nice to mix in a little bit of TV, maybe a movie. It's wonderful to break it up so you don't get burnt out. Being in this community it's so fantastic. It's a smallish community anyway. It's really a dream come true if you're a theater actor.
With Oscar buzz swirling for her role as a struggling mother in the film Lady Bird, a Roseanne reunion on the horizon, and a return to Broadway in the upcoming Three Tall Women, Metcalf reminds us that great acting can come in many forms.
Here's another thing that bothers me. You don't get angry.
Of course I do.
Maybe once you
Right now I feel angry.
Right now you're angry.
You're damn right I am.
No, I don't believe that you are angry, that you're in it, that you're inside the feeling of feeling angry. I think you're just outside of it looking at it like, oh, there's some interesting thing.
SpongeBob SquarePants started performances at the Palace Theater less than 3 months ago, and star Ethan Slater has already got audiences and critics alike buzzing about Bikini Bottom. The Broadway newcomer has been involved with the Tina Landau-directed take on the Nickelodeon hit cartoon since the beginning. It's clear from his physical comedy to his strong stage presence that he knows the character of SpongeBob SquarePants inside and out. We sat down with Slater to discuss making a splash in his Great White Way debut.
You are the #1 debut of the year.
What? That's so cool. Thank you. Oh man, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be honored with this. Playing SpongeBob has improved my life in so many ways. The biggest one probably is just, you know, his inherent optimism has changed the way I wake up in the morning. And it sounds sort of cheesy to say, but it's really true. Like maybe it's because I'm fulfilling a lifelong dream of being on Broadway. But I like to think it's also because every night I get to inhabit this character. It's made me more optimistic and more joyful and appreciate my relationships more. Actually, something really cool that my fiance said to me the other day was, she said, it's really special that you get to save the world every night, because This is a world that often feels like it needs saving for different reasons, and it's a really special thing, not just for me, but also to be able to share with this company and with this audience, is saving the world through this message of love and community, 8 shows a week. It does change my outlook on life, and it does change the way that I feel, and I like to think that I can share that with people now, which is really special.
Slater has been involved with SpongeBob SquarePants for 5 years. He revealed what it's been like to bring the project from its early days to the Great White Way.
I mean, it's totally surreal. I have to check in once in a while with Danny, who's also been working on it for 5 years, and we're just like, hey, like, we're doing this on Broadway now. Like, it's real. It's amazing. It's so incredible. It's everything we thought that it would be, but like times a million, you know, something like that. It's been a good year. I've had a good year. There have been a lot of ups and downs in the world, but 2017 has been a really good year.
Come From Away tells the story of when the isolated community of Gander, Newfoundland played host to the passengers of 38 planes following the events of 9/11. The moving new musical acquired a lot of attention in 2017, becoming a box office hit. In fact, when we asked the fans to rank their favourite shows of the year, Come From Away topped the list. We sat down with Come From Away stars Jen Colella and Chad Kimball to talk about the musical's joyous impact on audiences and vice versa.
This has been a fantastic year.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
It feels amazing to be a part of something that people are reacting to so strongly, especially because we believe in it so much. It's something we're deeply proud of.
I think for me, it's the end-all be-all of what it is to be in theater, really. To go to the theater every night and to step on that stage and know that you're eliciting a response in people that is unique and rare and cathartic.
What I like about our show is that it gives our audiences another memory of that particular time. And it's not a story about 9/11. It's about the fact that human compassion exists in terrible times. And what we're learning is in times that
keep going on.
That's right, yeah, totally. We need it now more than ever. And so we can feel the audiences now leaning forward in their seats and needing this story. It's becoming more and more relevant, which is quite lovely.
Though the stars of Come From Away knew they loved the show, they did not anticipate how this musical would resonate with audiences and spark some serious fandom.
They've been so sweet to us and so effusive with their compliments and with the things that they're going through and what it brings up for them, and then they want to bring their friends and they want to bring their family. So many of the fans have become like family of Come From Away because they continue to come back and they continue to bring their own families, and so it feels like we're just growing and growing and growing this like kindness movement. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's a myriad difference of fans. They're the people who are kind of like the theater people who come and see the shows, and then there are people who never see shows, and then there are the people, especially in New York, who are really close to and very protective of the 9/11 legacy that come see the show.
I'm also digging the younger fan base that we have. These theater fans who know all of the album, they know the music, and they know all the other fantastic shows that are out right now, and they're giving us love even though it's a cast of like some older folks, you know what I mean?
Well, who?
Well, mostly you, like Joel. But like...
The experience of doing the show and having that, you know, there's 12 of us, and then we have that 13th cast member as the audience. It's thrilling to be able to go out and actually look them in the eye really close and say, you know, just have this moment together because they were just in it as much as we were. And there are some really heartrending stories that are told, and there's a lot of joy, a lot of laughter, and there's some tears, and it's all worth it.
The Broadway.com Star of the Year is a coveted title voted on by fans. Past winners include Kristen Chenoweth, Josh Groban, Kelly O'Hara, Ramin Karimloo, Daniel Radcliffe, and more. The 2017 winner spent her year devoted to fans, vlogging for Broadway.com, cooking up cronuts, and being haunted by a spooky doll known as Creepy Anya. She also won hearts with her starring role in the new musical Anastasia. Of course, we're talking about Christy Altomare. We caught up with Altomare in her dressing room to ask her about her highlights for 2017 and to surprise her with news of her win. Take a look.
Hi, my name is Christy Altomare, and here's some of my favorite things from 2017. I really liked Pink's new album. It was good. Favorite movie of the year? I think I haven't seen it yet. I watch more TV. Are you gonna ask that question? I really liked Stranger Things. I have this game that I just recently got and I cannot stop playing it. This is really embarrassing, but it's called Color Balls and it looks like this. And I can't stop playing it. My favorite thing I wore this year was my pink dress in the Macy's Day Parade. My favorite celebrity of the year is Creepy Anya. My favorite day of 2017, opening night of Anastasia. Favorite purchase of the year. I bought my boyfriend a computer. And my biggest accomplishment of the year was starring in a Broadway show! Who is the Broadway.com star of the year? Who's that? Is it me? Is it really me? Am I really the Broadway.com star of the year? You guys, thank you so much. I'm like, I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much. I am so touched and honored and grateful, and I love every single one of you who voted for me, and thank you so much. Bye. No, did I really actually win? You won. How did I win? There's no way I won. There's no way I won. How did I win?
You won.
How did I win? No, you guys are lying. You're just being really nice to me.
Not at all.
This is insane. There's no way that I won.
You did.
I can't believe it. And this is the coolest thing! Look at me! This is my opening night dress!
Yes!
That is amazing!
When we return, we sit down with Michael Arden, director of Once on This Island, Broadway.com's #1 show of 2017.
We named the exhilarating new production of Once on This Island as Broadway.com's #1 show of 2017. Director Michael Arden took the beloved musical by Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty and put a fresh and inventive spin on it. I sat down with Arden to discuss his vision for the show and how he brought it to glorious fruition. Michael Arden, thank you so much for coming in, because I'm delighted to tell you that Once on This Island was chosen as the #1 show by Broadway.com.
I am overwhelmed.
Best of, it says it right there.
That's amazing.
We love this show, and we love this production. So I want to hear about how you came up with this vision, because this is a reimagining. This isn't just a revival.
In 2001, I was a freshman at the Juilliard School as a drama student, and there was an Actors Fund Broadway Cares concert reunion original cast Once on This Island that was happening at the Winter Garden on the set of Mamma Mia. And I happened to snag a ticket and like skipped out of rehearsal for The Winter's Tale. And I had heard the music, I had heard the album, thought it was great, you know, and obviously loved their work, but I knew I wanted to see this because I had never seen a production of it. And I remember not being able to get out of my seat after it was over. It was just a concert performance of it. And I was so moved by how this is a story about how people forgive and rebuild. And I think at the time it was like the perfect antidote for
9/11.
New York. I mean,
it was post 9/11.
Yeah, it was post 9/11. I mean, 2 months had gone by since the attacks.
And LaChance's husband had died in 9/11, so that was what that was. I was there too.
Yeah,
and that was what that was for.
Everyone who was
there, it was very moving, and it had like a new layer of meaning, I think.
Yeah, and it just felt like we were all healed by this, and so it was something I carried that with me for a long time. And then years later, I was talking with Anne-Marie Milazzo, who was our vocal designer and orchestrator on the show. And I said, wouldn't it be cool to do Once on This Island in a parking lot with no instruments, with just voices and things we gather? And she said, yeah, that's a great idea. And we got together, we made 2 demos. We called Lilias White, came and sang on one, Josh Henry, Adrienne Warren, all these people, we got them together and said, let's make some a cappella demos. And I wrote a beautifully worded letter and sent it to Lynn and Steve and with these demos, and they were like, no, you can't do this. So that was a swift no, but true to form, I kept persisting. And I knew I wanted to do something in the round. I think it was always sort of an idea to do it in the round so that it felt like people have come together in a circle since the beginning of time to tell stories around the fire. And so I knew I wanted to do it in the round, and I knew I wanted to find ways to use instruments and make it about how powerful the human body and form and spirit can be, because that's what the play's about. And that was sort of my way in. I think that the sort of kernel of the idea remains.
I was very privileged to interview Lynn and Stephen, and they said that you were in their ragtime concert, and you didn't give up. You were a dog with a bone. You really were tenacious about it.
Yeah.
So you really had a lot of vision for this, a lot of perseverance about it. Why?
Because I think it's an important story. I think, unfortunately, it's a story that needs to be told. I mean, as long as there is injustice in the world, which is sort of hard to imagine a world without it, unfortunately. Not only love is stronger than death and hate and ignorance and divide, but that the good we do in our lives goes beyond our life.
This direction is very detailed and very different from the original production. Tell me where some of these images came from. Where did the goat come from? These, you know, these details that aren't necessarily in the original script.
I think the goat just wandered in one day. No, I mean, I wanted this production to feel very authentic and very real. And as I was doing research, and I said, I have to go to Haiti. I have to be there. This is where I think this takes place, and given the earthquake and storms that had happened there and how they were rebuilding. And so I called Ken Davenport, our producer, and I said, I have a crazy idea, and you're going to laugh at me, but I think Dane Laffrey, our set designer, and I need to go to Haiti. And we ended up going, and it was really, really instrumental in the work we did.
How did that inform what we see on the stage?
Just visually, I mean, so much of what you see are like complete recreations of pictures we took, of people we saw, of things they were wearing.
It does feel authentic in the pre-show.
You know, the goats, the chickens that were there, how the water, even like down to the sort of color of the water, and the colors that are used, and all of that, the car parts, all the debris, all the trash you see at the beginning. So I was really inspired by that. But just to see that, what Rosa Guy was writing about in her novel and what Stephen Lynn had written about is like alive and thriving.
And even this year with the many hurricanes and the devastation in many Caribbean islands, it just feels very resonant right now.
Yeah, and not even in the Caribbean, and you know, Houston and
in Texas,
Florida, that was happening while we were doing our lab. It felt very immediate, and I wanted it to feel very sort of harshly realistic.
Can we talk about this fabulous cast for a second?
It's
an
embarrassment of riches, isn't it?
It's an embarrassment of riches, and that's a wonderful thing. But it's also very different from the original production. Tell me how you went about assembling these gods, finding Haley Kilgore, which is, you know, a star is born suddenly. It's wonderful.
It wasn't easy. The first piece that fell into place was Leia Salonga. I called her and I said, I have this wild idea. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm doing this show and I think you would be really great in this role, and I know you're not black. So
That's true.
That, and she said, yeah, I know that too.
And she had some trepidation about taking on
Yeah,
that
I mean,
role.
I think we all did. We were nervous, you know, but so many people came to this island from the Philippines and from the Middle East even. But I wanted the gods to be all very, very different. So it had to have a certain balance. So I had met Alex Newell a couple years ago, and I was a big fan, and I said, hey, I'm doing Once on This Island. And he said, oh, I want to play the Lilias White role. And we sort of laughed at the moment. and then I remembered that when we were casting, and I said, I want to bring him in. And I think the writers were like, what are you doing? A Papa Gay can't be a woman. He can't be, but he came in and gave the best audition. I mean, you can't deny when you hear him sing Mom Will Provide that it's probably the greatest we'll ever hear it. So he sang that, and everyone was like, oh, okay, well, that's something. And it was exciting for me to say, like, hey, a gay man can be a mother.
And a woman can be Papa Gay.
And a woman can be a Papa Gay. And it's exciting to have these two women fighting over the fate of this young girl. And with Haley, I mean, I saw a video of her that was sent by a wonderful actor named Rodney Hicks. Had sent us a video of her singing Home from The Wiz when she was 16. So we called her in. This 18-year-old girl walked in and stole our hearts.
It's amazing also how much trust Stephen and Lynn and your producers had in letting you work on the gender fluidity and the multiculturalism of this show.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't come
you
without...
won them over.
It didn't come without a fight. But I think, you know, that's where the best work can come out of, like, people butting heads and saying, okay, well, why do I feel this way? Why are we holding on to these things? Change is tricky, and change is, like, hard. The last time they saw the show was closing night in 1991 when it was perfect. You know, so I think then saying, oh, I'm going to take your baby and paint it and rip it up and put it back together is an incredibly scary thing for any writer. So I really...
And every director wants to work in the round. Always such an easy task.
The show had to be in the round. I can't imagine it any other way.
You're lucky that theater was available.
I know. We built the model for Circle in the Square not knowing if it was available or anything. It was just sort of a pipe dream, and the gods smiled.
The gods smiled. It's a wonderful production. Congratulations for being the best of the year, not just for us, but for a lot of publications.
Well, thank you. It's such an honor. I mean, to just to be part of the Broadway community and bringing this show back with these particular people at this time, and to be welcomed like this is such an honor.
Thank you for coming in, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
When we come back, we look at some memorable musical highlights from Once on This Island.
Hi, this is Leah Salonga, and you're watching the Broadway.com show.
Thank you for watching the Broadway.com show.
We leave you with a vibrant look at the acclaimed Broadway revival of Once on This Island, our pick for the best show of 2017.
See you next year.
And as mysteries and miracles before